Welcome to the Heart of a Viking. These art lessons are taught by Mrs. Minto from the Cape Henlopen School District in Delaware. I hope you have fun, create imaginative works of art, and make sure you share them with someone because, after all, the visual arts are meant to be seen.
Hola artistas del Cabo, bienvenidos al corazon de un vikingos. Today we are traveling back to South America, but specifically Venezuela. And while we're there, we're going to be learning about an artist named Carlos Rivero. Carlos is very famous for his colorful animal textural works of art, and we're going to be specifically looking at one of his works of art and having a little art talk about it. And the painting is called El Pez, which means the fish. And this piece of artwork has bright colors, awesome textures, repeating lines, all the wonderful things that we love in art. So join me as we learn a little bit more about the artist Carlos Rivero, a little bit about Venezuela, and we get to learn the rainbow colors, arco iris, rainbow, in Spanish and in English. So I wonder if you noticed the 6 rainbow colors on me today. I'm wearing all 6 of them. Did you find my rojo? How about my naranja? How about my amarillo? What about my verde? Did you find my azul? How about my morado? I wonder how many of those colors you have on you. Let's put on our thinking caps, grab our art supplies, and head on over to our art creating space.
Venezuela is a country on the northern coast of South America. It's one of the world's chief oil exporters, but it's also famous for some natural wonders, such as Angel Falls, which are the world's highest waterfalls. The arts have a long history in Venezuela. Thousands of years ago, the earliest artists in Venezuela created petroglyphs. Those are rock drawings. They also made pottery, had oral histories, and music. And the arts haven't slowed down since. There have been many political and religious artists along the way, but today we're going to learn about the colorful works of art by Carlos Rivero. Carlos Rivero was born in Venezuela on July 3, 1953, and from an early age he showed interest in the arts, mainly in painting. In 1968, he moved to the Caribbean port of La Guayara, where he joins Armando Rivero Art Group and started to develop his artistic style. This is El Mas Gallo and El Brujo, El Cachicamo, and La Iguana. Here we have Composición con Caballo. And finally, El Pez. This painting is going to be the inspiration for our work of art today. Let's take a minute to really look at this work of art and have a quick art talk. In an art talk, there are no right or wrong answers, as long as you're really looking at and really thinking about the work of art. So let's ask the 5 W's and an H. Who, what, where, why, when, and how. So who? The artist is Carlos Rivero. What did he make? He made El Pez, or a fish. Where did he paint this? Well, the fish is painted underwater. It's near the seafloor, swimming along, right above some seagrass. Why do you think he did this? Well, we don't know why Carlos did this because we don't know what he was thinking, but we can make a guess. I believe he drew and painted Este Pez Pequeño because he really enjoys drawing and painting animals and transforming them into colorful textured works of art, which really capture the attention of his audience, which is me and you. When he painted this, it was 2012. How do you think he painted this? Well, again, we can't have a conversation with Carlos Rivero right now about his artwork, so we'll have to use some detective skills. To figure this out, we might have to look really closely. It looks like he used a textured paint to create the waves in his water. Then he used tons of bright colors to paint El Pez. He used some patterns, a lot of rainbow colors, and a lot of texture. Well, there you have it. That was our first little art talk together, where we really look at a work of art and think about it before we form an opinion. All right, so let's see how all of this can inspire our own works of art and what we need to start. Hey there, Cape artists. Let's see what we need today. The first thing we're going to need, actually the last thing we're going to need, are some watercolor paints, a paintbrush, and some water. I always like to have a little towel just in case my brush is too wet or if I make a little mistake. We're also going to be needing some markers. The more colors you have, the better. I would like for you to especially have the colors of the rainbow. So that's red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple. We'll need a regular pencil. We'll need a blue and maybe a white crayon. Make sure the wrappers are peeled off, or you can just peel it halfway down like that long blue one I have. And of course, a piece of white art paper. And don't forget, I almost did a black permanent marker, like a Sharpie. Okay. Dibuja conmigo. That means draw with me. In the style of Carlos Rivero. We're going to be making a pez. That means fish in Spanish. So I do know a little bit of Spanish, so I may throw a few words in here today. Fish is pez. Okay, so I'm going to start by drawing a pretty large oval here. And I drew really light at first just to get the shape right. And now I'm going to go back and trace it just a little bit darker so that we can both see it. By drawing light helps me to be able to erase it. I always like to draw light first. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and add the tail fin. The tail fin is going to come off the back, and I'm going to draw a line that sort of looks like a candy cane upside down, and then a candy cane right side down, heading down. Then I'm going to go ahead and scoop around the top and draw a bumpy line that goes all the way to the bottom and connects at the bottom. That's going to be the little pez's back tail. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and draw a line that separates the fish's face from the rest of his body. And I like to draw it kind of like a really stretched out number 3. Then I'm going to go ahead and draw the fin that helps the fishy swim through the water. Very similar shape to the tail fin, just a lot smaller. This one would stick out from his side to help him push through the water. Now he's going to get a cute little eye right here, just one because I'm looking at the side of the fish. However, I'm going to draw a little portion of the other eye on the other side. Perfect. And of course, don't forget that little pupil. So my fish is looking straight ahead. I wonder which way your pupils will be facing. Now I'm going to go ahead and draw his mouth. It looks like a letter V from the side. So I'm going to draw a letter V, and then I'm going to draw some teeth. The picture I showed you from Carlos Rivero had pretty sharp teeth in that fishy's mouth, so I'm going to imitate him. But I'm going to give mine some big lips. It's up to you to draw the mouth how you want. Now I need to do a little bit of erasing. I need to erase the part of the face that's going through the fish's mouth, there we go, and the little part that's going through his lips. Perfect. Okay, so now I'm just going to fix up those little areas that I accidentally erased when I was fixing up the face. Okay. Next I'm going to start with his top fin, which is a straight line with the bumpy line on top, and a little triangular tail fin underneath here too. All right. So now for the part that takes a while. I'm going to draw some fish scales. These scales are going to be kind of like the letter U on its side, and it's going to start at the top of the fish and keep going all the way down. Sometimes that fin gets in the way, so you just have to sort of skip over it and move to the other side. Now I'm going to add a second row that scoops up and bumps into the row I just got finished making. And then another row. And guess what? I'm not going to stop until I get back to the tail. Awesome. Sometimes I wish I really could draw this fast. Okay, so now we're at the tail fin. Now I'm going to move to the face, and I'm going to repeat the same thing, those little scale shapes, except I'm going to make them a different size. So I can either make them larger than the scales I made on his body, or I can make them smaller. You can see that I'm choosing to make mine smaller. I just want to make them different so they don't blend in with the scales that are on his body. So let's move back to the tail, and I'm going to use some geometric shapes in the tail. I'm going to use a pattern of rectangle, rhombus, rectangle, rhombus, rectangle, rhombus. You can pick whatever shapes you'd like as long as they're geometric shapes. Then on the fin at the top and underneath, I'm just going to draw a little bit of texture lines, and I'm going to put a different geometric shape down his little side fin. Okay. So now, moving down to the bottom, I'm going to draw some squiggly lines that might be seaweed or maybe some sort of other sea creature or sea plant that is growing at the bottom of wherever this awesome little fish is swimming. Alright, so now time for some patience. I mean tracing. So I'm going to be using my permanent marker to trace almost every single line that I've drawn with pencil. This does take a little bit of patience, and if you need to take a break because your hand is getting tired or you're just getting tired of looking at your piece of artwork, of course take a break and come back when you feel refreshed. But we are going to be tracing every line that you've drawn so far. In case you're wondering how to say trace your lines in Spanish, it's traza tus líneas. So even my hand gets tired after a hard day of tracing, so go ahead and stretch your hands and your wrists out whenever you need it to. And then once you're finished, don't forget you can always use an eraser to erase the pencil lines. You don't have to, but it does clean it up and it increases your craftsmanship. That's your neatness. It'll always look so nice after you erase those pencil lines. Great. Alrighty, so you've seen this before. Do you remember what it was called? That's right, it's my color wheel. So remember that a color wheel are basically just the colors of the rainbow in a circle shape. So that's important today because today we're going to be using our markers to color in rainbow order. So if you recall, the rainbow order is red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. Let's try that once more, but in Spanish this time. Rojo, naranja, amarillo, verde, azul, morado. Muy bien. Ahora colorea conmigo. That means now color with me. So let's start with red. What I'd like for you to do with your red marker is I'd like for you to randomly fill in some of the fish's scales. So you can draw stripes, you can draw polka dots, you can color them in, whatever you feel like doing in the spaces, but I would like for you to randomly color many of the scales red. Now, you have to plan ahead because you're also going to be needing some orange and some yellow and green and blue and purple. So for now, don't color them all, but you do want to color some of them red. And don't forget to include some of the scales on the face. Some of those should be red as well. Okay, and when you feel like you have enough red, you're going to put the red aside, and then you're going to move on to orange. And again, just color as many of the scales as you would like, add some patterns. or just fill them in whatever you like, and don't forget the scales on the fishy's face. Now I'm also going to use orange for the fins of my fish. You can pick whichever of the rainbow colors you would like for the fins of your fish as well, but I would like for you to color all the fins the same color. That way it unifies the fish and makes everything seem like it's all part of the same little guy. So I'm choosing orange for all of the fins, and I'm even going to use it on his lips. And then when you're done, switch to yellow. Yellow comes after orange. Hey, did you see my mistake? I forgot to color this fin orange. So I'm going to go back with my orange marker and go ahead and color that in, and then I'll finish up with my yellows. All right, after yellow comes green. Alright, so next should be blue, but I happen to have this really cool turquoise, and turquoise is kind of a blue-green. So after green, but before blue, I'm going to go ahead and add some of my turquoise bases. Okay, and now time for blue. Alright, last color that's part of the rainbow is purple. So I'm going to use my purple to fill in pretty much everything that's left. If you have a lot of spaces left and you'd like to go back and add some additional red or yellow or whatever color you liked best, that's fine. But I'm just going to go ahead, I'm going to look for all of my extra spaces that are still white, and I'm going to make everything that's left purple. Alright, so if you have any colors left that you haven't used yet, I have a couple pink markers here. You can use those to fill in those fun geometric shapes that we had on the one fin and the tail fin. Wow, this looks beautiful already, but we're not even done. We're going to be adding the seagrass next. Okay, so using whatever colors you'd like, we're going to go ahead and trace those wiggly lines at the bottom to be our seagrass. You could make them shades of green to make them realistic, or you could make them some fun rainbowy colors to go with your fun fish here too. When you use different colors like this, especially if you use a combination of light and dark colors, the dark colors really pull forward and grab your attention. They look like they're closer and in front. And then the lighter colors sort of fade back to the distance. So it creates an illusion of distance on your flat piece of paper. That's pretty cool and called perspective. So while this looks fantastic just like this, we need a little bit more texture. So what we're going to do next is, you probably will need to pause the video, but you're going to go somewhere in your house where you can find some texture. Remember, texture is how something feels. I was able to find some texture on the wall in my office here where I film these videos. So I'm going to hold my paper onto that texture and gently rub my peeled crayon across the surface of my paper. Now I especially have to be very careful. If you can't tell, this wall is white and I do not want to get any blue crayon on this wall. You could also find something in your house that isn't a wall that has texture. Maybe you take your paper outside and lay it on your sidewalk, or maybe you go to your kitchen and you find a bowl, or you pick up one of your sneakers and flip it over and use the texture on the bottom of your shoe. Whatever you want to make a texture rubbing off is fine with me. So now I'm going to switch to my white, and even though I won't be able to see it right now, later whenever I'm painting, those little texture rubbings with my white should show up and be revealed. Alright, so here we go. It's our last step. DEJA pintar. That means let's paint. Let's use watercolor paints to paint the water around our fish. Now you want to be careful that you don't get the water paint or the water on your fish. Remember, we colored him with washable markers, so if we accidentally get them wet, they will smudge and smear and the color will bleed out into our water. So I want to try and stick on the outside edge of that Sharpie line. The Sharpie line will not bleed, but the colors from the washable markers will. We need this to dry before we can move on. A couple of options are, one is just let it dry, simply let it sit on the table, walk away, go do something else, check back later, see if it's dry. Option two is you can set it out in the sun if it's a sunny day. The sun will definitely help it dry a whole lot faster. Or you can do what I do a lot, which is bring it into the bathroom, make sure you ask your grown-up, and use a hair dryer on low to gently dry the water so that you can move on to the next step more quickly. Well, Cape artists, what do you think? I love it. I can't believe how colorful it is, and I can't believe the textures that we were able to create. These are going to be impressive and beautiful. I can't wait to see yours. Make sure you upload it to Artsonia, and I'll see you back here next time at El Corazon de unos Vikingos. Be artists, don't forget to hop on over to Artsonia to upload a photograph of your piece of artwork to your art portfolio. I can't wait to see you.